A couple weeks ago, we talked about AI, and this is reshaping the structure of the entire economy, okay? So you're going like, So as a college student, going back to the AI thing, what do you...
Because it used to be, like when we went to college, like we picked something we wanted to study, and usually, hopefully, there were jobs in that kind of field. But I was never worried that, like, if I went this route, that all of a sudden those jobs would disappear.
No, the entire field is gone.
Yeah.
Dude, your son, just be a plumber, man. Plumber is good. We're always going to be eating and pooping, and it's like, yep, clogging up drains, whatever. What happened to you? What happened to you in the 25 years?
And you know, just to the point about what would I say to like younger students is
Do you have any radical we need to destroy the system and rebuild it? Do you have any friends who are like that at all? Who look at this and be like, that's why we got to destroy capitalism and that's why we got to change it all? Do any of you have friends like that? Oracle's cutting to 30,000 employees, okay? Jobs to pay for these AI data centers. Oracle has decided that, man, they are all in 100% on AI, and that means they're going to cut up to 30,000 jobs around the U.S., India, different places, okay? Now, Larry Ellison, by the way, is the guy. See, in that bottom slide, you got Elon Musk, Larry Page, Larry Ellison. The leadership team of Oracle today and said, hey, we're restructuring at Oracle. We're one of the largest corporations in the world, and we're restructuring. Things are changing, and you no longer have a job as of today. So go to the office, pick your stuff up, and, we'll be in touch. Larry Ellison's got $252 billion, right? Oracle has money. This is the decision. This is a decision. Right, here we go. You're a freshman in college. How is that? These are just people, man, with the power to move and shake and decide, yeah, we're going to cut 30,000
I think that's a horrible thing. Companies cut people all the time. I mean, when I was, before I was born, my dad got laid off from his job. But, I feel like a lot of that is life. Like, it could happen to me one day. It could happen to anybody in this room one day. And, things like that happen all the time. But 30,000 employees is a huge number for sure. It's a horrible thing, but nobody can control what companies do. And, it could happen to any of us in this room one day. That's why we shouldn't really take anything for granted.
Okay, so for you, when you see that, you read the news, it's like, well, that's just the luck of that's the dice, man. The dice got cast, and this morning those emails went out. And
it's just, sometimes it's just life. You can't control, like especially what Lisa said about how where you're born and what family. Like you don't pick that. Like that's just like the luck of the draw. You know what I mean? And I feel like what she said, can apply to a lot of things. Like you can't control, that stuff.
I feel like the whole luck of the draw only accounts for like people that are born into families that are like very rich, like high in poverty. But for companies like Oracle cutting up to 30,000 employees, that's something that can be controlled. So I'm not really sure.
But so you feel a little somehow...
Well, upset, yeah, because that's 30,000 employees that could probably like supply or support about 100,000 families.
Okay, so it's a lot of families.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of communities. These aren't low-end jobs. These are higher. Most of these are all higher-end jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And
but again, that could probably only be their source of income. So you never really know.
So this is reshaping the structure of the entire global economy. Once again, we talked about AI a couple weeks ago. We talked about AI, and this is reshaping the structure of the entire economy. Okay, so you're going like, So as a college student, going back to the AI thing, what do you...
I mean, I don't really think it's worth paying all that money for AI when that money could go towards families that are in need or just income in general.
Yeah, but part of all of that is all the things we have, man. This is all the new apps you got on your phones, all the search engines, all of this, all of that, self-driving cars, all of these things. It's all going to make the world a better place. But then you have these consequences.
Yeah, and that could get a lot worse for the future. That could be millions of jobs being taken over by AI, or to provide for AI.
Okay, all right. So you feel some kind of something. Jaron, how about you, man? How is that?
Personally, I'm not surprised sort of this stuff is happening, because I feel like if you look at it from a business standpoint, if you're able to buy or create a model that does like something that your human counterpart can do for a fraction of the dollars, I feel like it's a smart move. It is a terrible thing. I do believe that instead of just completely cutting off these employees, they should be like retrained into different areas within the company would be a better option, because to add on what they're saying, they are still providing for these families, and it's still like, I feel like it's more human.
Dude, I want to say something to you. That statement you made, that you think maybe they should be retrained for a different job in the company, do you mean like cleaning the floor? Like, what do you mean,
No,
bro?
like something like...
Because the whole point of the company is that it's just like we don't need people anymore, because we are now training computers to do all of that. So like, yeah, whatever.
But there still has to be like people to like govern and look over these AI models. I can't, like, a lot of them in like early stages can't fully run by themselves. So it's people that like are like maintenance towards these models, or like making sure that I run functionally. Because I feel like to cut off 30,000 people and replace them all with AI with no like human like background or human like checkpoint is just a bad investment.
All right. Okay. It seems like it's questionable. I'm not saying it is, by the way. Like, I don't have a dog in this fight at this point. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Okay, so listen, you all, I want to come back to you all. Like, I see this, I get business, I get the whole 9 yards, right? But you've been around long enough to know that at some level we're all in this together too. So how are you seeing that?
Well, it makes me like wonder about like everybody in the room and everybody who's a college student right now, and like how it affects your thoughts about your career plans and your career path and your major, with all the uncertainty about how this is going to shake down in the economy. And I'm a parent. It makes me wonder, like, how strategic does my son have to be about picking his career? Because it used to be like when we went to college, like, we picked something we wanted to study, and usually, hopefully, there were jobs in that kind of field. But I was never worried that, like, if I went this route, that all of a sudden those jobs would disappear.
No, the entire field is gone.
Yeah.
Dude, your son, just be a plumber, man. Plumber is good. We're always going to be eating and pooping, and it's like, yep, clogging up drains, whatever. Bro, when you see this, right, and you think about the world, and building a world, and you're participating in building a world, man. What?
Well,
yeah, what do you see?
So what I think about is that Oracle is a publicly traded company with millions of shareholders, and that an adjustment to their employee base may boost their stock, which may have an overall more positive impact on more people.
Wait, can you go back one slide? Yeah, like bro, right here, that means that these people actually will get wealthier.
Well, retirement accounts, 401ks, Oracle is a very highly invested stock. I mean, it impacts. So there's, and these employees, you're an employee at will most of the time. You could be fired for any reason, as long as it's not, for an unlawful reason. But generally, that's part of the deal, right? And these folks they may be let go, but they often receive 3 months of pay or placement assistance, and they take their skills with them. Many of the times, these employees got their skills while they were employed with the company, so they don't walk away with nothing.
All right, let me ask you this question.
Would I have said that when not even a chance? Not even a chance.
Listen, if we go back 20 years, 21 years, you were sitting here, you never would have said that.
No, it's the worst thing that can. I mean, you see, it's the nuance of it, and clearly, like.
No, what would you have said? To go back 20 years ago.
I don't think I can say that, the words, because there's cameras now in this room, but and live stream. But I would be really upset, and I would say, like, those people who are sucking that company dry to line their own pockets. You know,
this guy right here, man.
So there's, pragmatically speaking, right? You can understand it wasn't just Larry Ellison, it was the board of directors, it was the management of the different units that were deciding which. So it's when organization, like Mitt Romney said, corporations are people too, and when they start taking from actual people, I think you just have to think about it. You have to reevaluate that. And, you know, there is if they weren't a public company and there weren't public shareholders that were being, you know, we need that stock to go up, or we need, like, it's a different conversation. Private companies can do.
Okay. The top 10 control about 67% of the wealth. So in a few years, the 67 is going to go to 70. And it's predicted to go to 73. And then 74. And you're going to be lucky if you all get onto the train a little bit, that you can get some money into the market and get moving along. But like, at what point in time is it just like, this is a problem? So I want to ask you, so you're sitting 25 years ago, what would you have said?
I mean, I'll go back to part of what I said before and like flip the script a little bit, where Larry Ellison, yes, is responsible largely. There are other people that help make that decision. But I mean, he might have really been torn about that. That might have been a really hard decision for him. It might have been. There's nuance to that.
Dude, would you have said that 25 years ago?
I would not.
What would you have said?
I would have said down with the system.
You'd have had a few choice four-letter words probably.
Yeah. But my
well,
kids
what
are
happened to you? What happened to you? What happened to you in the 25 years?
So you know, just to the point about what would I say to like younger students is, I mean, I'm self-employed and I struggled for a pretty long time to make my business successful. And I would say that, make yourself somehow self-employed. I mean, like, even if it's like the gig economy kind of mentality, because like whether we like it or not, you're dispensable, and it's terrible, but it's the truth. So
you have come to accept because you're a dude with I remember you always as having a really big heart. So somehow you've come to terms with, well, it's kind of what it is. Like, you've lived now enough years have gone by, enough decades. It's like, yeah, that's just kind of how we are, man. Do the best.
I mean, no, you can still be about it. Don't get me wrong.
No.
I mean, you can still be about it, but like you have to operate within. You know, you have to find your own path, and being bitter about what it is like a fine starting point in terms of motivating yourself. But like, you can't stop there. No, but I don't think you need to be about. I mean, I don't know. Like, we're living life, man. This is life. You kind of. Lisa said it. You've all said it. It's the dice. You cast the die, and here you are. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not thinking you need to be about it. I'm just really struck by, if I go back 25 years, and we have this conversation in this classroom, in a different era, in a different time. And I'm not talking about people like Takeem in the classroom. I'm talking about the general perception of the vast majority of students who are here. You are not saying, yeah, this is just kind of how it is. And yeah, there you go. Well, you know, it's luck. It's this. It's like, well, I hope I don't get caught up in it. I hope I don't get screwed. I hope whatever. The general tenor of the vast majority of students in this room is like, this, man. Like, that's bull. Like, no, we need to change the system. This is bullshit, right? And we'd be passing the mic around the room, and you all would be just like one after another, just coming out with some critique of not just capitalism per se, but critique of just this inequity, the inequality. Just this really serious, intense inequality. And you'd be passing the mic around and you'd be going, yeah, okay.
What happens? What happened? Do you feel like you guys got smarter? Seeing the nuance?
I don't think. I think I'm not smarter, but I have years of. I've lived, so when you live, you learn things. But I think something shifts, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out, well, what did shift? Because when I was on the other end, when I was a teaching assistant in a room like this, I would not have been okay with that. And I'm not okay with it now, but like the depth of my being cannot get as upset about it, and I don't know why. Maybe it's like something shifts as like you move into adulthood and the responsibilities that come with it. And like maybe you buy a house or you have a car payment, and then maybe you have a child, and then maybe time's ticking and all of a sudden you're 30 and then you're 40 and then you're 55 and don't know how.
And nothing has
not
changed.
Speaking about myself, and like you get different about, like, say you come back to like safety and security, but in a different way, like maybe a more selfish way, but not intentionally, just around like trying to like safeguard yourself, your children. I don't know. Something does shift.
Yeah, well, it gets harder. Like I said, for example, you don't have to be. That's just what it is, man. This is life. We're gonna die. It's gonna be over. We're gonna move on. I want to ask a question to the three of you. Do you have any radical left, like we need to destroy the system and rebuild it? Do you have any friends who are like that at all? Who look at this and be like, that's why we got to destroy capitalism and that's why we got to change it all? Do any of you have friends like that?
I might have a couple that agree strongly with that, just from the standpoint of like considering their background as well too. Like some of the stuff you said, I can really relate to a few of my friends sharing the same opinion, because like at first coming here, like with my friend group and like some of our social class, like going back to like their house or like they're visiting me, you can see the difference. But it's always been like, it's never been kind of that extreme until you get like that deep involved.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you have any friends who are poor? Whose parents are like janitors, let's say?
Probably not to that extent, just considering the area I'm from, but I have like close family members that are in that situation.
Okay, but you don't have any friends?
No.
Do you have any friends who are poor? I mean, poor, like really struggling.
Not to the like janitor extent, but back in high school, I'm still friends with her. She was an immigrant, and she came here, and she honestly did not have that much, but she never had that like ideology to change the whole system. She saw it as a chance to work incredibly hard to, get to where she wants to be, and that's what her plan is.
So like Nigella and like your mom, I'm gonna assume your mom is just like, is she? How many friends do you have who are poor?
Maybe like a couple back home, and like some that I'm like acquaintances with, but not really like close friends that are like extremely like poor.
How many people do you guys hang out with? I mean, intimately hang out with who are poor? I mean, like really pretty poor.
Several. I walk around Morristown, New Jersey a lot, and I stop and I've gotten to know some people, and there's a mission across Market Street. I think it's important. I think it's important to go out into the world and understand people's experience.
But for you, you're not tapped into that.
Personally, I mean, I it's taken a long time, and I think you put a lot of effort into things, but you never forget.
Okay, yeah. Dude, and all three of you work hard, man. How about you?
So I'll say that my wife and I consciously decided to live in the city. So we live in Center City, Philadelphia. And what's interesting about that is that it's like pretty much house by house determines like income level. So, or block by block in many cases. So first of all, like the proximity to people who are in various states of well-being, you're like, there's a shelter, next to my kid's school kind of a thing. And like the folks that wander the streets are, I interact with them and occasionally give them a couple bucks or like, an RX bar out of my bag or something.
So it's on your mind. You're thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, so it's definitely a part of our, conscious effort to like not pretend that doesn't exist, but to engage it on some level.
I just want to say something real quick. My dad always said, if you are going out to eat in a restaurant and you can't afford to tip, you should not be going out to eat in the restaurant. Because I do think it's important. I'm always a generous tipper, and so is my family, because you don't know where everyone's at. You don't know where they come from. So we always make a very conscious effort to tip a lot.
So for you, tipping is an example of seeing yourself as part of a larger community.
Because I personally, I rather give food to those on the street instead of money, because I don't know what they're going to do with that money.
But don't think homeless. I just think working poor.
Working poor?
Working poor. I mean, people who are just, look, for example, the people that clean this room, they don't make $30,000, man. And they don't live in State College. You think like all these people are wealthy and so on? Like Jaron, for example, right? You're from North Carolina, so you come up here and you just see all this. No, man. These are people, they're living outside of State College. It's a very different world. And so this is what I mean. Like folks like this, you go to their homes, you see how they're living, you see how things are. Yes. So you don't have that?
No, I always make, like, the janitors on, like, I live in Tenor Hall, which is, like, in East, and I always see, like, the people, like, cleaning, and I always talk to them, because, like, I see them just as me. Like, I see them as human, too, and I'm not going to treat them differently because, they're cleaning my bathroom. No, I'm going to treat them with respect, because they're human, too. Like, during the Christmas holidays, I actually wrote the people who clean my floor a letter, like, Merry Christmas, because I'm sure they don't get that from a bunch of other people.
That's cool.
But, my sister does the same thing at her college, too, so
right. Okay.
I, treat them as human. I mean, why wouldn't you?
That's fair. That's cool. Look, I'm not, and by the way, I'm not trying to move anyone in some direction. I'm just trying to say, like,